Hey everyone, this is Justin from R&DE Student Housing Assignments. In this video, we're going to talk about how to apply for the draw as a group. When you submit your housing application through Access, you will be asked to select a tier level if you have guaranteed years remaining. Everyone in your group must be applying for the same quarter and must use the same tier level. Remember, there are some restrictions on tier usage. Rising sophomores can only use Tier 2 or 3. Everyone must use Tier 3 at least once, and you can only use Tier 1 one time. This means if you are a rising sophomore who is drawing with a rising senior, you won't be able to use Tier 1. Likewise, if you are a rising senior who already used Tier 1, you won't be able to draw with another rising senior who wants to use Tier 1. You will have to choose a lower tier or not draw as a group. Every member of the group has to use the same tier because every member of the group will be assigned the same draw number. When you submit your application in Access, you will see there is a section of the application devoted to group information. The first person in your group who applies for housing should select I'm creating a new group. This person becomes the group leader. The group leader will need to enter a group name and password. Group names need to be 5 to 8 alphanumeric characters long and must contain at least one letter and one number. Likewise, passwords need to be 5 to 8 alphanumeric characters long and contain one letter and one number. The next question asks through how many residence choices you want to be held together with your group. This is called group retention. It could be a little confusing, so let's break it down. Here's an example of some students and their residence choices. If on their applications these students were to put 0 in the group retention box, here's what would happen. The assignment program would consider Greg's first choice, an Adelpha single. If there was only one Adelpha single left, the program would give it to Greg and then move on to Marcia. Since there are no more Adelpha singles left, the program will go to Marcia's second choice. If there was one space in 680, the computer would assign Marcia there and move on to Peter. In short, the group would be split because each student would be considered individually. The group is being held together through 0 choices. If the group put a value greater than 0 in the group retention box, the assignment program would keep the group together through that housing choice. Let's say they set their group retention to 4. In this case, the assignment program will look at the group's first choice, an Adelpha single. If there are 4 Adelpha singles available, the computer will assign all 4 students to Adelpha. If there are only 2 singles available, there aren't enough to accommodate the entire group, so the program will move on to the group's second choice. If there are 4 spaces in 680 Premier, the program will assign all 4 students to 680. If there aren't 4 spaces, the program would go on to the group's third choice, in this case 680 Standard. If there aren't 4 available spaces there, the computer moves on to the fourth choice and tries to get all 4 students into that choice. Remember, we set our group retention to 4, so what happens after the group's fourth choice? If the assignment program cannot accommodate the group in any of their first 4 choices, it would go on to the fifth choice, but group retention would no longer be in effect. This means if there is one vacancy in a Branner single, it will go to Greg. Then the computer will move on to Marcia and look at her sixth choice. If there are 2 vacancies in Branner 2-room doubles, one will go to Marcia and the next one will go to Peter. The computer will then look at Jan's 7th choice. Once group retention ends, each student is considered individually and the assignment program no longer keeps the group together. In order for group retention to work, it has to be set correctly on the application, and everyone must have the same residence choices in the same order. In this next example, we will set group retention to 8, but our students will have different choices. As you can see, every group member has listed the same choices from choice 1 through 3, but at choice 4, everyone listed different choices. Even though group retention is set to 8, the assignment program would only look at these students as a group through choice 3. Even though choices 5 through 8 are the same, the program will not try to hold the group together after choice 4 because everyone listed different choices. Once a group member lists a choice that is different from every other group member, the assignment program considers that group member as an individual from that point onward. Students can use group retention and application choices to their advantage. In this example, the group of 4 really want to live together, but if all 4 can't get into their top choices, they are willing to break up into 2 groups of 2, with Greg and Marcia being one group, Peter and Jan the other group. In this example, they have set their group retention to 8. They have listed the exact same residence options in their first 4 choices. Then, at choice 5, Greg and Marcia selected Branner singles, but Peter and Jan selected Mirrlees. Because group retention is set to 8, if the program cannot accommodate the group of 4 in their first 4 choices, it will consider Greg and Marcia as one group and Peter and Jan as a second group for choices 5 through 8. The program will keep the group together as long as group retention is set and everyone has listed the same choices. Since at choice 5, Greg and Marcia continued to list the same choices, but they were different than Peter and Jan's choices, the group of 4 became 2 groups of 2. Let's go back to the application for a moment. If you're joining a group, you should select I am joining an existing group. You will then need to enter the group name and password as set by your group leader. You will also be required to select your group retention level. Remember, it's critical that you list the same exact choices as the rest of your group. In order to make that easier, group members can copy a group leader's choices simply by pressing the Copy My Group Leader's Choices button located above the resident's choices. While the Copy My Group Leader's Choices button is definitely convenient, there is one important caveat to keep in mind. If you copy your group leader's choices, and after you do this, the group leader goes back into his application and edits his choices, you will need to go back into your application and copy the group leader's choices once again. Students often think that once they copy a group leader's choices, they don't have to do anything if the group leader edits his choice list. This is not true. No one student can alter another student's housing application. So, if your group leader makes changes to his choice list, you must go back into your application and recopy that group leader's choices for those changes to be reflected on your application. Also, anytime you copy your group leader's choices or make changes to your application, be sure to double check your group retention is set where you want it to be. One final note, keep in mind that in the examples I used in this video, the students only listed a few choices and they kept their group retention low. If you want to stay with your group, you should list many choices and you should set your group retention high. Also, keep in mind, the larger your group, the harder it is for the system to get all of your group members into one residence. Smaller groups are more likely to be held together and to get into one of their top choices. And that's what you need to know regarding groups and the draw. Be sure to check out thedraw.stanford.edu for more videos like this and tons of great draw information and resources. If you have a question, we want to hear from you. Send us a help ticket at helpsu.stanford.edu, give us a call, or stop by our office. On behalf of everyone in R&DE, best of luck in this year's draw.